what's in my head. I got a voice inside that needs to be fed. It's causing chaos everywhere I land. I got a fever. I got a fever.
Your guys' song is so
Good evening,
so much cooler.
Good evening, everybody. This is Jordan with Ohio Sports Talk. We're coming to you live tonight with now in-house guest Jimmy Pilato from Far End of the Bench. We're going to be tackling some subjects today, on and off. We're going to be a little bit everywhere, but it's going to be a good show. Jimmy, how are things in your neck of the woods?
You know, the beard is oiled, the beer is cold, and I got some things to say. And I like I'm kind of like the outside influence of this show. I'm your dose of reality. I have no slate glasses on. I've taken my Bengals glasses off and seen them for what they really are. I am still wearing the shirt because this is like, anytime I post a picture wearing this shirt, it's the biggest engagement. So there you go. I like it. Best Christmas gift I ever got. Shout out my sister, by the way. And they got a win. So I'll take that. But I'm your dose of reality. I think that's what Jordan wanted to do when he brought me on the show. And I'm ready to bring it to you guys because I had a hell of a day at school. I already took it out on some high school kids at wrestling practice. I'm still limbered up. I'm ready to go. Let's hit it.
Let's hit it, Jimmy. And things are going good on my neck of the woods. Everybody's getting ready for Christmas. We'll have the tree up tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. But like you said, let's hit it. We're going to dive into what's more relevant right now. Jimmy, we finally got some luck. Jimmy.
Was it us or was it Lisa and Bart? Because did you see they balled out? And Ned, I'll shout out. I think it was Ned or somebody like that, and the bully. They were all balling. Like did you watch that broadcast as well? That was the best thing about this game.
Yes, I watched I watched a little bit of 50-50. I watched 2 quarters of the Simpsons, and then when the Simpsons got too slow and I was getting updates faster on my phone than I was in a Simpsons game, I had to switch back over because I was getting stressed. So, but yeah, no, I love, we can start there. I did love the Simpsons podcast. I did love the Simpsons broadcast. It was definitely fun. I didn't think it was quite as fun as the Toy Story one from the previous year or two, but it's definitely heading in the right direction. I would like to see, I know the production cost is probably something astronomical to, make it a lot in time and live, but, I'd love to see more of it. I love that Nickelodeon does their kind of spin on it, and I love that Disney Plus and ESPN, got in the game. Nickelodeon's always done the slime stuff, and we know they did the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl halftime show last year with the SpongeBob theme. So it's good to see little things like that to kind of get the kids in. The Simpsons weren't necessarily a kids get for me when I saw it, because, it's been around forever, and it's kind of targeted, an audience, you and me and older.
I was going to say
me and older.
I know that they're classic and they're definitely way better and way more distinguished than the other ones. But I was Family Guy. I was American Dad. It wasn't even really The Simpsons. I love this. I get The Simpsons. I'm not sitting here saying that the other 2 shows are better, but even I feel like people my age and younger aren't even hitting The Simpsons as much anymore because there is so much other stuff going on. But I didn't realize that they had The Simpsons on Disney Plus. Maybe I'll start checking out Disney Plus more. They do have adult content. That's the craziest thing about that platform is with all the Marvel shows that they're putting out, like a lot of adults, and they carry ESPN now. So like Disney Plus, if you have a family and you're a sports fan, that's like the perfect get to right now. I'm sorry for the free plug on your airwaves because that's not what I was going for. But it was cool because that was a big part of their demographic, and you probably got a lot of guys like us that do want to watch the football. But hey, I'll check out the cool computer animation. Is it closer to on time this year? Maybe at some point we'll be able to watch a full game with no interruptions. I feel like they're just working out the kinks. And hey, they're way further ahead than Netflix is. I have way more faith in whatever Disney Plus and that streaming platform is going to do than whatever the hell we're in store on Christmas with the Vegas and Chiefs game. I feel like nobody's going to be able to watch that. It's just going to be that red circle of death on Netflix. But getting back to this game specifically, it's funny because I think like people see part of our content and then don't see other parts. I'm still very much, I've picked against the Bengals every single week since I turned heel on Talking the Gridiron. I love the team, but they're I'm going back. I'm trying to avoid going back to what I was in for 18 years of Marvin Lewis, because that was the meat of my fandom. With getting to the wild card, losing the wild card round game every single year. And I talked a lot of trash. I was that guy. I was running my mouth when we had good teams, and it always worked out that nothing ever did anything. I'm trying to put the other side out. So maybe we get rid of Zach Taylor. Maybe we can take advantage of some of this talent, because damn it, that is what this team is so talented. Maybe not on the defensive side of the ball, but hey, they only gave up 20 points. It was one of their best performances of the entire season. I don't think that there's too much you can say negative about them. And they got it done. But if we could have figured this out a month ago, Jordan, we might actually be talking about some exciting football.
No, and you're right. You're right, Jimmy, when it comes to figuring out. But, it was nice to see Geno Stone come up with the interception. When he made the play, I tweeted out, holy shit. Geno Stone made a play. They still made some errors. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jermaine Pratt had the ball handler dead to rights. 5 yards into it, they reverse field. They went 45 yards on a play. There's still a lot of issues. Sheldon Rankin still didn't play. I don't know what kind of blood disease that man has, other than I call it pussyitis, just not being able to play football at this point.
I was not
other than just making a paycheck.
I was not expecting that. I forget you were a Marine sometimes.
There's no other excuse for it. I mean,
I can let it loose on this show, huh?
Yeah, you can. That's our platform, baby, for the better or worse. But he's kind of that. He's just kind of a waste of cap space this year at this point. We should have retained our boy that went over to Detroit, but such is life. But he's in a better place. But
he's in a
happy
much
to see
place.
the secondary happy to see the secondary step up. Josh Newton still had a rough day, but this is a 5th round rookie corner. Going against CeeDee Lamb, going against some of the best in the league week in and week out. So I'm not too worried about him, Jimmy. I think his development is coming. He's shown some good flashes, and this year, this is a ton of experience that on the normal roster before injuries, he wouldn't get. So, I'm happy that, somebody that we drafted is kind of sticking through it, week in and week out for Lou. So he's getting tested. It's not.
That's the most important thing, is because I don't put the defensive performance on Lou. But when Nico and I were talking about this game when we were picking it, that does tend to be like, if you're Zach Taylor and you're in this situation, and I don't know if he's even aware if his seat is hot at this point, because that just seems like the kind of guy that he is. He's just blissfully unaware until things are right up behind him. He's like, oh shit, we're 4-8. Damn it. I thought we were ready. I thought it was still preseason. I'm sorry. I don't know what you wanted from me.
The preseason we don't play.
Well, yeah, the preseason that we don't play. Why is Joe Burrow out there? Why is he? Oh, he looks like he wants to win this. Oh, am I calling plays in the regular season? Oh, that's what it was. I knew I was forgetting something. Matt Eberflus loses his locker room, and Zach Taylor loses his game plan more than any other coach in the entirety of the NFL. And I'm sure we'll get to other NFL talk, and I'll stick to the Bengals. But not Eberflus. Now it's stuck in my head. But Lou seemed like he was going to be on the chopping block, because I don't think that I don't know. What are you hearing? Because in my mind, Pitchner's worked with Burrow. You're trying to keep the offensive side of the ball happy. You really can't fire your offensive coordinator with the production that you're getting. Lou and his defense was putting him in bad spots. Lou is going to be on the chopping block ahead of Zach Taylor, and you might end up losing both of them if we're ran like a normal franchise. I have no idea what this team, you can expect with this team, but it seemed like that was the way it was going, and maybe this is the performance that can kind of turn that around. If they can finish above 500, as unfortunate as it is, I do think that Zach Taylor keeps his job.
I think Zach Taylor, just because of Katie Blackburn's inability to, be with the times, and was so afraid of change. This was the biggest change he's had ever since the Marvin Lewis era. So I think he stays. But the mutual feeling right now in this area is that game saved Lou's career when it comes to him opting into staying in Cincinnati, or he's going to have the ability to either, if he wants to stay, he'll stay. If he wants to go, he'll go. So that kind of gave him a little bit of leeway, a little bit of leash for his career. And I don't 100% hate it. I don't love it either. I do think he needs to be gone. At some point when you look at teams like the Bills, and you and I kind of text about it. You look at teams like the Bills that are just putting anybody that wants to play defense on defense, and it works because they put everybody. They put everybody to their strength. They're still giving up astronomical numbers. They're still one of the worst defenses in the league, but they're ahead of the Bengals, and they support their offense and wins. So they know they know what they have to do. The Bengals are just so much in denial. We think we're the defense from 3 years ago that, we're going to play a certain way and we're going to play a certain style that we did a couple years ago. And that's not our identity. Our identity is to the offense to get up a little bit in points and for us to unleash what little pass rush that we have and, play ahead of the sticks and play ahead of the points. If we can keep them out of the end zone and give up threes, bend but don't break, we're going to be okay. Because right now, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are playing on Madden God mode right now, and it's just so evident. He did try to force feed Jamar there in the third quarter. It did cost him an interception.
My fantasy team is very happy about that, so I'm okay with that.
But that overall the performance was great. But it seemed like it was going to be the same song and dance. We get to the punt formation, we're behind the sticks, we give up the sacks. And just kind of taking us through that last play. And I about turned off the TV. I said, it's the same song and dance. Like, here we are. We're right there. We're right there in competition of the game. And we're going to lose this by 3 points because, we're sitting here, we're punting. We're going to give them the ball. If it does a good bounce on the 50, on their 40 at the worst case scenario. And all they got to do is dump 2 completions. And
you're going to get those completions.
Here we are.
You are going
they're going
to get those completions. Everybody's completion percentage. You get a 70. You get a 70. You get an 85.
CeeDee Lamb, you just go out and do. You get the PI call that's going to take you down to the 20. So because that was
God the Cowboys continue to take out Homer Simpson because when Homer Simpson was in, they were scoring points.
But fast forward, we get the punt. Nick Visual, of all people, former longtime Cincinnati Bengal, was drafted by Mike Zimmer.
That's the guy Lamar hits his spin on. If you've seen the highlight of Lamar hitting his spin, yes, that is the guy. I can't believe he's still in the NFL.
That's the guy. Well, he was a Zimmer guy. He had some good he had some good time in Minnesota. We saw him have some success there. Under kind of Zimmer's system there. We see him now in Dallas. Make no mistake, him and Zimmer have a little thing going. But of all people, they're like, Nick Visual makes the block. I'm like, holy hell, we're gonna give up 7 right here. And it goes through it. I can't believe the other guy touched it. But in my mind, I almost forgot that rule, Jimmy. I was like, it didn't matter who touches it. We're fucked. And all of a sudden, the Troy Aikman screaming, the Bengals got it back. The Bengals got it back. I'm like, how? But then I had to remind myself that this is real.
This is why everybody needs a good special teams coordinator because that is where these wild situations. Think about the team that we all thought was going to be way more talented and is underperforming. It's the New York Jets because they have zero coaching outside of anybody else that's on the field not named Aaron Rodgers. And when you don't have the coaching, you don't get taught these situations. You don't get taught to when the punt is blocked, if it goes behind the line of scrimmage, it's better for the defense, the people rushing the punt to pick it up. But if it goes beyond the line of scrimmage and they don't go after it, that's a live ball. They touched it. They put it in play. They tried to block it, and Rico's leg. If anybody is going to get praise outside of Burrow and Chase this year, it is Ryan Rico because that dude has a boot. And I live in Denver. I've seen some punters that can put it pretty far. That guy's got a very consistent, very powerful leg. I feel like that's got to be a part of that situation. But that was perfect. That's the coaching that is there because you can't tell me that they got to the Super Bowl 3 years ago with this same coaching staff and they all sucked. But whatever it is this year, they take turns making pretty catastrophic mistakes. And then the players take turns making pretty catastrophic mistakes. Thank God it worked out in this game. Because it was about to be just another one of those like, oh, now we're 4-9. Now we're guaranteed to be under 500 again. And guess who's bringing up the basement of the AFC North, which is this great heralded division. The Browns and the Bengals. That's who's bringing up the rear of the AFC North. We have a shot to be in the middle of the pack, and we're screwed on tiebreakers. But my thing is this year, finish over 500, because you almost did it last year not having Burrow for the end of the stretch. You could have done it last year, and you should have done it last year. So now with everybody playing and this offense clicking, let's put a little bit of faith, put a little bit of effort. You're playing for jobs, whether it's here, whether it's somewhere else. You're playing for jobs. Coaches are playing for their job. We should see this team play pretty damn hard through the stretch.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be excited. The Titans are going to know us well. I'll preview that show later this week. But definitely, we're going to visit Callahan, our old friend. But other than that, they got it done. But they, even after that play, they still had to get it done. Chase Brown.
Do you see this Titans game as a get back, or is there no such thing as a get back game for the Bengals this season because of how bad they've been?
I think the Dallas win is the get back. And this as an athlete, winning is contagious, and so is losing. When you're in that losing ball, when you're in that snowball, everything compiles. Practices aren't as fun. The team gets kind of very divided, regardless of what anybody says. People are pointing fingers in their own little water cooler, talk in the locker room.
Everybody's contract is up, and nobody wants to sign.
Nobody wants to sign. So, losing on all levels, whether you're Pee-wee, high school, college, pro, semi-pro, JUCO, losing is contagious. So I think this was the game where finally that broke. So this is the breakthrough game. I expect them to handle the Titans pretty swiftly, at least offensively. We're going to make the Titans look a little good on offense, but it's not going to be the Steelers game where we're going to.
Is this the game they can actually execute the scheme? Because Lou Anarumo's scheme has been a nightmare for quarterbacks, including Patrick Mahomes. So that's the craziest thing, is that he's been able to scheme all of these things. And I call him the second half wizard, because the halftime adjustments he made in the AFC Championship game and in a lot of the big games down the stretch in the subsequent seasons, that guy knows how to stop an offense. So shouldn't this be like the total package now? That's kind of, I guess, where I'm going with this. Shouldn't this be the game where the defense, because the Titans' strength is their defense. So it's strength on strength with their defense and our offense. Their offense, Will Levis will give you the football. It's like playing against Drew Lock. Just wait until he hands you the football. I was at that game live. I was sitting right next to Nico when Drew Lock handed the ball over. I was like, I don't even know what to say. I'm happy because this is the first time I've seen him win in person, but Nico, I have no idea what to say because you literally gave us the ball.
Yeah, I don't know, because Lou back in the day had the minds in the secondary, because it also takes
Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
I miss you so much.
The ultimate communicator, and he had a Von Bell that was just in shape enough.
I miss him too.
To carry. But I Von Bell still has the brain, but his body, he's in a position, but his body's not, you can't make the body go. Father Time is undefeated against us all, with the exception of probably Tom Brady. But
his voice did go out, so he is human.
His voice did go out. He is human, but I'm just saying when it comes to playing at a level at a certain age, Father Time is undefeated. And that's the old saying, and it looked like Von Bell finally got there. It's not the Von Bell that made the immaculate interception in the AFC Championship game when
or laying the
Jesse Bates
boomstick on Juju Smith-Schuster, because that was anything that I remember of Von Bell. It's because that was the turnaround season. That was the year Burrow got hurt in his rookie year, and they were playing the Renegade, and Juju was doing all the stupid-ass dances. He was trying to race Charlie D'Amelio to 100 million followers on TikTok, which is looking like it's going to get banned. So, they're going to have to pick a new song. But that was my favorite memory of Von Bell, including then the interception next year. But you're right. Like, the communication in the secondary, my family knows that I'm a Bengals fan, so we watch the games. We have Sunday ticket for that reason, so I can always watch the games no matter what. And they're like, whoa, how do they let somebody get that open? I'm like, they truly don't look like they know who they're supposed to cover. They truly don't. They look lost, and when you look lost in that situation, that's bad. I said it even against the Steelers when we were talking about the Steelers game. The one pick six that we had was not because some brilliant scheme or our cornerback ran the route better than the receiver. We knocked the receiver down. The penalty didn't get called, and we picked it off and ran with nobody else in front of us. These guys don't know who they're covering. They're not playing their technique very well. It's a whole bunch of things. But if anybody's going to make you look a little bit better, it should be Will Levis and the Titans. Their running game might go off. That's my only worry is that they still have Pollard, and Pollard has played at a decent level this season, and this would be his game. Like, where am I going to earn my next contract? Because who knows if he's going to stick around in Tennessee.
Right. Who knows who's going to be in Tennessee next year, period.
This might be just a contract game all around. Like, whoever plays well, you're going to be in the league. You're going to be in the league. You're bagging groceries. Sorry. You're selling insurance. Did you play for Ohio State? Yeah. You're selling cars.
But that we'll wrap it up. But yeah, I'll preview that game further this week with the Titans. But congratulations to the Bengals. Their offense still got it done in the fourth quarter. Chase Brown, Jamar Chase brought the boom. When they needed to, when they got the second opportunity. It's going to be great. Hopefully we can get our tackle back, but Brown on the right side. I'm tired of watching Cody Ford continuously get bullied, but
the depth
it's getting old.
It's not there, and it's never been there for their offensive line. Their depth at offensive line has been their downfall for so long. That's what got Burrow hurt in his first season. And I called out the wrong guy. He got cut 2 weeks earlier.
If you don't lose Trent Brown, the depth is kind of there, because then you can take Mims and one of them you could swing. You could play the swing game, and that just
they did try, because Mims was supposed to be the swing this year. He was supposed to learn under Trent. He was supposed to learn under Orlando, and then he was supposed to be the guy that they could put pretty much anywhere. Didn't they have Mims playing guard? He's a tackle. He's so
they had Mims playing guard, but they also moved Trent Brown in camp to guard in hopes that if Mims doesn't tear his pec, maybe Trent Brown comes in and plays that guard position we've been struggling on. So that was something that was experimented on.
I do know that they pulled Volson 2 weeks ago, didn't they? They pulled Volson off the field, or was it this week?
No, Volson started this week. They pulled him off the week prior. They put Cody Ford in, but Orlando Brown missing another game forced us to put Volson back in and move Cody Ford over to right tackle. So that's where we're at.
It's not impossible, but it is very difficult when you have guys playing different spots every single week. Our offensive line coach in college, and it ended up screwing me in the end, because obviously, if you're watching, I have very short arms. I only grew to about 6 feet. I'm the most Italian-looking gentleman that you've probably ever seen. So I'm muy pequeño, and it screwed me over. But our offensive line coach always said, there's 5 steaks on the table. Only the hungry eat. I don't want to make changes, because if I make changes, I got to make sure that this guy fits with 4 others. There is no individual effort that you can put on the offensive line. Hey, this guy went the right direction, but 2 of these guys went the wrong way. The whole play's busted.
Right.
Joe Burrow's getting his ass kicked in the backfield.
And that's what happened. And
it's ironic that I picked this team as an offensive lineman, because their offensive line, besides Andrew Whitworth, has been abysmal the entire time I've been a fan of this team.
I mean, you look at who's the guard playing for Detroit now?
Is that Glasnow? No.
He's had a hell of a career. We just didn't retain him.
Yeah. But that's the thing. The Browns have a badass offensive line. But I mean, they're hurt now. But I mean, a couple years ago when they were doing their thing, they had a badass offensive line. When the Cowboys were making their runs, they had a badass offensive line. It's weird how it all comes back to the fat guys that nobody wants to care about. I'm here. We're here. You guys got to worry about us. If you can't block, you can't do anything. And if you can't rush the passer, you can't do anything.
That is the truth.
All right.
Kevin Zeitler from Wisconsin. Kevin Zeitler's had a hell of a career both in Cincinnati, Baltimore, and now in Detroit.
I think he's playing next to Penei Sewell. And Penei Sewell, did you see that fourth down play? I know that I'm good with Jamar. And I was one of the people that I was like, okay, get Jamar because of the connection and the chemistry. I'm big into sports psychology. But Penei Sewell on that fourth down play when Jared Goff hit a knee before he hit the handoff, you see Penei Sewell come flying through the camera angle with this defensive lineman like, stop, the play's over. Let me go.
That's true.
You only see that if you're a former fat kid, but that was beautiful.
That was beautiful. I have seen it in slow motion. But we're going to move on to Ohio's next team. We're going to spend a hell of a lot less time on them. The dogs are barking, but for all the wrong reasons. But there's not much left to say on this team. Winston's had good flashes, but the team is just not there. The offensive line has just continued to be patched together really badly. This team looks tired. Nick Chubb I wish they would just shut him down. We know his knee's healed. He looks good. Put it on ice. Let's pack it in for next season for him. It's not that big of a deal at this point. You're getting a top 10 draft pick. It's kind of over. We know Jerry Jeudy's going to come back next year. He looks great. He has the chemistry for the team.
Running against Levi Wallace, he looks great. Let's point this out. Almost 300 yards against Levi Wallace. When Patrick Surtain was against him 2 weeks ago, that was 2 yards, I believe. So he is still the same receiver that we got rid of here in Denver. I know that the Browns fans want to put him up there. You will see if they don't figure out their quarterback situation, if they somehow, some way convince themselves, and it's probably monetary if it is, but if they somehow, some way convince themselves to put Deshaun Watson back out there, Jerry Jeudy's production is going to fall off. Jerry Jeudy is not one of these receivers that will drive offense himself. He has to have somebody get him the ball. Jameis can get him the ball. Jameis just throws to the other team so much. Hey, no pick sixes though. He did get delivered from the pick six.
He did. He did prayer. His prayers were answered. He didn't ask for a win. And
turns out you got to be a lot more fucking specific when you're speaking about God.
You should be, but that's where they're at. I think they go quarterback in the first round. Doug, our producer behind the scenes, he does a mock draft every Monday. Go check it out. Give me your comments. Let me know what you think about his mock drafts. We're definitely they're just kind of a mess. It's just kind of over. But I'll ask you this as an outsider: do they keep Stefanski or do they move on outside looking in?
Stefanski is on that short list where I feel like if he gets fired, he's going to get picked up somewhere else because he's dealt with the Browns during COVID. He coached them through their first playoff victory and God knows how long from his basement. I know that they said he wasn't allowed there, but they were FaceTiming. Like he had a lot to say about that game plan going in. It's similar to the conversation we just had about Anarumo. I don't think that this is his fault. He's been screwed over by his organization. He's been screwed over by the salary cap. He's been screwed over by the global pandemic. When is he going to get a full season of guys that he's picked? He's getting handed the roster and says, here, go make this. Well, this is not. So I'm a gourmet chef, but I can't make the gumbo. Like
with that statement, do you think he was always in favor of Deshaun Watson, or do you think he was in the shadows? Like, man, fuck this. Here we go again.
Why? As a coach, that think about it. You have to build a culture when you go to Cleveland at this point. When you're building that culture, how do you convince guys to get behind that guy? Because everybody does have to be invested in protecting your quarterback. As an NFL franchise, if your quarterback is not the most important person, that everybody is down, that's the one thing. If anybody does anything shady to your quarterback, everybody on the field is getting that guy. I'm grabbing you by the neck, and you are not doing that again. When stuff like that happens to that guy, how are you going to convince guys, hey, we got to win? Well, yeah, but I got to play for him, and I don't like him. And he's not very good anymore. Right. Whatever's going on is definitely affecting him on the field. How do you convince a group of professionals that know this is not good enough to win? How do you convince them to play hard for him? Not saying that they're throwing games or putting out bad effort. I just think subconsciously, your brain is always working. And when you don't believe in something, you fulfill the negative self-fulfilling prophecy. I hate Deshaun Watson. Why is he here? Well, he's getting his ass kicked and he's injured again, but he's guaranteed money. So guess what? We can't get rid of him because he's got too much of a cap hit because he continues to pay off all of these new sexual assault cases that come with your organization's money.
I'll put a bow on this. I think Stefanski stays outside looking in as a Bengals fan at least one more year. But I think the organization does what will take one from Denver's playbook, cut the losses, trade him or release him, trade him for a fifth, trade him for a sixth. You're
paying his salary regardless. So just get rid of him. Get rid of cut the cancer out.
No, dude, that doesn't bother me.
No, I know. I'm also, my dad's recently gone through some stuff. So I'm like, cut the cancer out and then just see what happens. You can rebuild life when you get that shit out of your system.
No, dude, I'm living proof, both physically and mentally. So 110%, I think you cut the fat, you cut the cancer. If somebody wants to be in a market and wants to give up a seventh rounder, they don't give a shit about, take it and take what you can. It might be the Steelers just might add another one.
Tomlin loves a challenge.
Why not?
Tomlin loves a challenge.
He's making it fucking work every year. That's I hate Mike Tomlin. It's always fuck Mike Tomlin. But that's it's always fuck Boston on this program. It's always fuck the Steelers and Mike Tomlin on this program.
I'm good with both those things. And, so fuck Boston. With two hands.
But with two hands. But we'll wrap this up. That's our thoughts on it. Stefanski stays. I think they draft a quarterback in the first round, and they dig a little deeper. They fix their offensive line and add some new defensive pieces from the linebacker position and just really see what they got. But I think maybe a coordinator goes, maybe the pieces around Stefanski comes and goes, but ultimately he calls the shots. So I'm not really worried about it. He's not a terrible coach. He was the,
whoever
coach of the
made
year
the decision to bring in Watson, just sit him in the corner, duct tape him in a chair, and make sure his mouth is closed because he obviously has too much sway over the rest of the organization. Whoever made that decision, keep him out of the next couple years. Like you're in timeout. You timeout on hate, and you hate this organization for pounding the table for Deshaun Watson and telling us give him the guaranteed contract. Do it. What's the worst that can happen?
We'll see, but we're gonna press on, Jimmy. We're gonna go to the other Ohio team that was in the news for all the wrong reasons. I'm gonna let you speak your piece about it. We'll start with that, and I'll start with some coaching news. So let's get the embarrassment out of the way. I don't know who the state representative is, who the state representation is. I didn't get to read his name. I work for a living today.
I'm not deep enough in college football to be on the message boards, so I don't know what they're. But you got to know those guys sitting in their parents' basements are just like, this is coming from outside of the Buckeyes. This is not Ryan Day whatsoever. This is totally separate, but it was disrespectful. So you know what? I understand. Ohio is now possibly going to implement an ordinance for my non-social studies teachers out there. I know you got to vote on it, and nobody goes and votes in these elections because nobody knows when the fuck they are. I teach social studies for a living. Nobody gives a shit what I say. That's why I have to throw out I put in my thing, meet the gods. And one of the kids looked up at the thing today and said, what does that mean? Oh, you're going to learn about the gods and pick which one you want to go on a date with. They're like, I don't want to go on a date. I was like, yeah, but I have to say stupid stuff like that. Otherwise you don't listen. Ohio is trying to pass an ordinance that flag planting within the state limits of Ohio be illegal, which also would count for the Buckeyes. I know that you don't normally plant your flag at your own midfield, but damn it, if you lose in Ann Arbor next year and you somehow get it back the year following when it's back in Columbus, why not plant the flag? Erase all the karma. My favorite. thinking about it now, because obviously we had the playoff run for Ohio State, so this is a blip on the radar. They're in a good spot. I mean,
it's the wrong. This is the wrong publicity. This is
definitely the wrong publicity. If it somehow gets released that this did come from Ohio State, Jordan, I would very much hate to be an Ohio State fan on the internet.
I'll have different opinions if that day comes. I don't think it will. The local media is very hot on this for the same reasons you talk about. Nobody's on board with this shit. No, we got a little bit else to talk about, but nobody's on board with this shit. So there is nobody that's a sports fan in my area that thought this was a fucking good idea. And
it makes no sense sports-wise.
It doesn't. Some butt hurt state rep that went to Ohio State a long time ago, and never made it outside the classroom, for real life stuff. And that's just what it is. I'm going to call it what it is, just a sheltered life. Thought, oh man, I'm going to help my constituents. No, you just pissed off half your constituents. So, but I do want to take a quick shout out. We're up to 67 live viewers, Jimmy. I want to thank everybody that's tuning in with us. Thank you. It's been since my solo rebuild. This has been my biggest audience since I took this over full time. So thank you to everybody that's watching. There's no me without you. Get in the comments section. Tell us what you think about this ridiculousness. We would love to hear the opinions, most certainly. But Jimmy, I'm going to move past this. It's dumb. It's stupid. I'm not wasting another fucking breath on it. Are we going to talk about the playoff
seed yet? Because that's also what I wanted to get to with this team.
I want to finish with the playoff seed, but I want to thank God for a minute that we did not. We had a coaching scare. We almost lost Brian Hartline to West Virginia. West Virginia did hire somebody else officially, but Brian Hartline left and actually did a full interview with West Virginia, back-to-back interviews. So it just, that would have been a huge black eye right now on the recruitment trail, especially when it comes to our wide receiver groups. We have Chris Henry Jr. coming in next season. Would he have stayed his commitment? What? Yeah, you didn't know that? You didn't know that?
I don't pay
committed to Ohio State, my man.
I want a team that gets on the field. That's all I do. I love college football and I watch all the college football games, but I don't pay attention to the recruiting and anything like that. Chris Henry Jr. Damn, I'm old.
Yeah, he's Chris Henry Jr. is still on track to come to Ohio State, but Brian Hartline, he went over. He interviewed for West Virginia. Rich Rodriguez ended up getting it, so thank God there. I'm not saying I don't want to see the man be a head coach in the future, just not this year when everything at Ohio State is kind of in limbo and the future of the coaching staff lies within a playoff run. So that little shout out there, Brian Hartline, you're going to get your day. You're going to be a head coach. You're going to be a great recruiter for a program in the future. Maybe Ohio State gives somebody else the boot and you get your chance right here in your home state. Not saying anything yet, but we'll see how it plans out. But Jimmy, all right, we get the 8th seed. We're going against number 9, Tennessee. We're hosting a playoff game, not this weekend because it's it's God's country this weekend. It's Army versus Navy. I'll be covering that Friday. So it's Presidential Bowl. Everybody else can take a seat the fuck back.
It's for the CIT, right?
Because both teams, yes,
it's on the line. And, whoever wins walks away with it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's the best. That is the best. And they dropped their uniforms about a month and a half ago. Oh, it is. I'm going to be at a dumb wrestling tournament. I love wrestling, and I know Ohio loves wrestling too. When we get to a wrestling season with Ohio State Buckeyes, I can fill you guys all in because I love Big Ten wrestling, and I watch Big Ten wrestling to fall asleep. But that is, it's exciting. This is an exciting time. But you also have one of the toughest draws. Thank God you're the home team in this situation. Can you imagine being on the other side and being Tennessee? You have a road game in the first round of the playoffs, and then you have the number 1 seed the next round.
Because Tennessee this year is 2-2 on the road. They were undefeated at home. but they were 2-2 on the road, and they were 1-0 at a neutral site. So
And they have
Tennessee,
a true freshman quarterback.
So you want to talk about the pressure is on? The pressure is on. So I'm happy that we got the home game. It's Tennessee. I'm not overlooking them by any stretch.
That defense is legit.
The defense is legit, but their offensive line is extremely questionable. That's where I hope that these guys that have been called underrated all season long. I hope JTT Tomo shows up. I hope
going to be
Jack Sawyer
so spread out, though. So here's the thing: the last time that we saw Ohio State play, they were playing against a team that was like they were anti-forward pass. That was the only way to say it. So they were in 2 tight ends, they were 2 fullbacks. You were turning around, you were handing the ball off. Tennessee, Josh Heupel doesn't run that offense. You're going to be you're to the sidelines, you're to the numbers. That's where the receivers are. So you're playing a very spread out game. It opens up the pass rush like what you're talking about. But this is a totally different game plan, and you are going to have to cover the forward pass now. That is what Tennessee's offense is built off of. They have a good running back, but Tennessee's offense is built off of throwing it deep. That's the difference.
But that's our strength. You look at Burke, you look at Caleb Downs, you look at the rest of our secondary. That's our strength, Jimmy. When we can get out of our own way, it's not necessarily
when the ego is not in the way. When the ego is not in the way, you guys are a damn good football team.
But that's our strength is in the secondary. The secondary has great communication. We have great athleticism. We have athletes that can they can play up. They can close the gap when the ball's in the air and live at the point of attack. So we're going to do okay. And I think this is the team that we match up decent against defensively. Tennessee's still going to have their heyday. I still think it's going to be a little bit of a coming out game for the young man back over at Tennessee, true freshman. I think he's going to ball out a little bit, but I think just Ohio State's going to make that clamp, that second half adjustment that they're really known for when it comes to bigger games when they get out of their own way. And they're just going to take it over because Tennessee has to keep up with Ohio State too. And I think Ohio State learned the hard way. We're going to pass the shit out of the ball. There's no reason we don't drop back 45 times. And I'm calling for, Howard's most times he's dropped back as a Buckeye needs to happen during this bowl game. It needs to happen during this playoff game. He's got to be 30, 35 times. But that's our strength. We got to use our playmakers. And even in the run game, we got to get these wide receivers, run a jet sweep, get those it counts as a pass, get those little shuffle passes going, get the offensive line flowing, and then set up your run game in the second half that way. Now you take the bruisers. Now you go down. But this isn't a prediction show quite yet, Jimmy, but how are you feeling, outside looking in? We got Tennessee, we got the 8th seed, we got the 9th seed. Ohio State was 3rd in the Big Ten. Tennessee was 3rd in the SEC. So I think the odds makers did I think the committee did a wonderful job with this matchup. They're 2-2 on the road.
This one specifically, I'd like a lot in the first round. We'll get to this at a different episode. It doesn't have to be today, but I would be interested in reseeding after the first round, just to maybe kind of get the evenness of the matchups, because there's no reason these two teams should be playing, and then the reward is you get to go play Oregon at a neutral site. I truly do think that this game, what I was saying about the ego is facetious, because I don't like Ryan Day, and I've been very open and honest about that. And right now, half of Ohio State's with me. Yeah, get rid of the guy. Like I'm actually gaining fans by saying this. And a couple of years ago, I would have been blasphemy. Which coach is going to actually see this football game? Which coach is actually going to see what's happening and is not going to try and force the square peg into the round hole? Because Tennessee has played games like that and they've lost. That's why they're 2-2 on the road. But the two wins that they have on the road, Josh Heupel actually decided, instead of worrying about Iyamaliava throwing the big passes and throwing the ball down the field, I'm going to rely on Sampson, who is a very good running back. He's in his 5th season. He's played a million games of college football. That's who you rely on in these situations. Just like how Ohio State needs to rely on their strength, Which coach is actually going to play to their strength? Which coach is going to be totally blinded by the ego trip of winning in our style? I don't think either team can play in the style that they want to, because I think that Ohio State truly was trying to play like, we're not tough. We're not tough. We'll play blue-collar ball. Don't play blue-collar ball. Throw the football. You are faster than everybody. Your receivers catch everything that's thrown to them. Your quarterback, if he's able to see these guys run wide open, can get them the football. You play spread out. And for Tennessee, we're going to play spread out. You have this really good running back in your backfield. Let's soften up the defense a little bit, bring one of those safeties down, and then let's throw it over the top. Which coach is actually going to live in reality, and which coach is actually going to live in this, I need to win in the way that we always win. This is our identity. We can't stray from our identity. Bullshit. Sometimes you get caught. If you get caught, you got to have an adjustment. Who's going to actually lean into their adjustment? That's my biggest question for this game.
I think Ryan Day shuts the hell up. I think Chip Kelly runs offense that he wants to run. And, ultimately, I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I as of right now, I have Ohio State that 32, maybe 21 win, 32, 28 win. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think the young man from Tennessee is going to ball out a little bit, but Ohio State they have the answers. They're going to be able to answer hook for hook. And, being at home.
If they try and play that way, that's Ohio State's game. Don't play that game. Soften them up with the run. If you're a Tennessee fan somehow stumbling across this, you better hope they soften up Ohio State's defense with the run. But even then, they got guys. You can't tell me. I know that everybody's curious. Is Ohio State going to bounce back? Are they going to just falter? There's no way that this senior class who never beat Michigan is not going to go out with a national championship, at least in their mind. So they're going to play their absolute damnedest. I feel like the defenses for both sides, I feel like maybe this will be a little bit of a low-scoring game in the first half, and then you're just going to need all the second-half adjustments. It's going to be who adjusts the best in the second half. And I can see 30 points being scored. I'm hoping that we get 30 points scored on both sides. I want the entertainment value. I want this playoff to expand. 12 teams is great. 14 teams would be better. 16 teams is awesome. Go with D2. Go 26 teams. I want as many possibilities of games and upsets and this, that. I want content. We're content generators. I need more content.
We are, Jimmy. But do you have any outside thoughts on today's episode? Because we'll touch into it. I'll have you back on next week. And that's when we'll make our hard predictions. We'll really nitpick it. And we'll move on. But do you have any closing statements before we move on?
I just think that it's funny. The SEC commissioner trying to do what he did, and I'm so happy that Alabama was left out. I really, as much as I don't like Ohio State, I've always been Big Ten is better than SEC, and I like the Big Ten football brand better. So I actually do hope that Tennessee gets humbled on the road, and this SEC commissioner puts his big-ass foot in his mouth and goes, maybe it's just hard to win on the road in college football in general. Maybe it doesn't matter if you go down to the South or if you go over to the East or the West. It's just hard to win college football games because everybody's good now and you have the money and the ability to pay these players. So literally everybody is good. Bill Belichick just got, I think it's official. He just took the job at UNC. That's going to be a seismic shift in everything. I don't know if it's going to be good, if it's going to be bad. And I don't know what UNC has about these old men, like 70s plus, apparently, if you're going to be applying for the head coaching job at University of North Carolina. But I think that this is set up right now. I'm hoping Ohio State. At this point, I'm hoping Ohio State wins. Next week, I'll probably ruffle some feathers. But at this point, I hope the SEC gets humbled.
No, I agree with you there. And I think it's also the first time in many years the SEC doesn't have a Heisman candidate on the representation table. So kind of funny to see how the
Travis Hunter
SEC fall off. Well, a little bit of SEC fall off there because they took in Oklahoma and Texas while the Big Ten took a couple out West teams, and out of the two conferences, it looks like the Big Ten, at least this year in the short term, came out bigger on the deals. So big shout out to Big Ten, but we got that. We'll dive in deeper there. We'll kind of move on here. We'll go to our kind of news and notes section. This is kind of a free for all for you. Do you have anything that you want to bring up or talk about on top of your mind before I bring anything up?
I'm interested. So I know that you follow. Are you invested in hockey at all? Like the NHL?
I know the Blue Jackets are doing well this year.
Yeah.
Finally, for the first time in like probably since 2016. So when they
I
win the
think
playoff
that's
win against Pittsburgh.
that's if I'm gonna get a chance to kind of go where I want to. We're big Avalanche fans on our show. It's tough because if you talk about it, you think about it, and when you think about it, it kind of becomes real. But that situation with Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew over the offseason with this team, and granted, the Blue Jackets, you're right, have not really been relevant since they did the 8 seed over 1 seed upset in 2016 against the eventual dynasty of the NHL and the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the fact that they're playing this way right now, I mean, you've obviously had things that you had to overcome, and sports are probably a big lesson as to why. I'm thinking about it. I told you I'm coming in hot today because I kicked the shit out of a couple of high schoolers. I broke them mentally. I've been listening to David Goggins in my headphones. So I'm like, I want to see them fucking break. I want to see them break. And then the head coach looks at me and goes, "You work with him, and I want to see him break." And I'm like, "Yes, coach. I'm going to do that." This team doing what they're doing amidst the circumstances, they don't really have like the high end talent. But it would be so cool to see the Columbus Blue Jackets not only make the playoffs right now with this whole tragedy. I can't even imagine. You have 2 of your sons that are professional athletes. Your family's experiencing such immense happiness because your daughter is getting married that weekend. And these 2 guys are home in New Jersey, and some drunk asshole swerves the wrong way and hits these guys at 6:30 in the morning because they were up that early in the day getting their workout in, hits them early ass in the morning and eliminates 2 of, Johnny Gaudreau was such an ambassador for hockey. Matthew Gaudreau was about to get to that level. The Columbus Blue Jackets, if the Avalanche don't figure themselves out here in Colorado, I am more than fine putting my stock behind the Columbus Blue Jackets because I would love to see them have a very successful season after everything that they went through. Because Johnny Gaudreau was supposed to be the piece that brings other pieces to Columbus, and it hasn't necessarily worked out. But yet this year you have everything that happened prior to the season. It just seems like one of those stories in sports where, like, you can't not help but root for this, even if you're a team of a fan of another team in that division. If they make it, that's such a cool ass story.
That would be the story. That would be the story within the story. So, I'm glad you brought that up. It's something that this show is going to pick up more on, as we get deeper into the NHL season. We didn't start hot on it. We didn't start very hot on MLS.
Not many people are very happy about hockey and basketball season like Nico and I, because our teams have not been good in football. So we turned to basketball and hockey really early.
Oh, you're good. But no, I love that you brought that up, especially for our audience. If our audience members have any comments or any kind of thoughts on that, feel free to tune in. We're up to 75 live viewers right now. This, again, thank you. We appreciate you being a part of our show here. I'm going to dive in, and I don't know if you tracked any of the Reds draft picks or the Rule 5 that they kind of had recently. Picking up
baseball to me is like me asking you to talk hockey, so I'll do my best. I don't know any of the specifics, but I have played baseball I played baseball for a majority of my life. I was a baseball wrestler and football player, so I do know the game. But the Reds, like prospects, I really only know the Reds right now because of Castellanos. And right. He doesn't even play for them anymore.
No.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to derail you, but I'm gonna.
No, you're good. You're good. Well, they got the 9th overall pick. The lottery for the draft was last night. They had the 10th highest overall to get the number 1 pick again, but they did not. We got number 9, so plenty of options there. We just used the Rule 5 to acquire a guy that was a 4th round draft pick over for New York Yankees a couple of years ago. Cooper Bowman's now going to join the team. So just a little bit of Reds news. Things are going to heat up. But Terry Francona is really the big story here locally. Coming out of retirement, being the Guardians guy. Us seeing he took that organization when they were kind of a mess. So we kind of hope that he can take the young talent, Ellie Deli Cruz and company that are still with the Reds over to the next level, Hunter Green to the next level. Really kind of get our infield and outfield kind of squared up beyond those two guys. But number 9 is pretty cool. It's usually somebody you're not going to see at least for another year or two when you consider the farm system. But I was happy to see us implement some other rules, kind of go get guys that are on AAA right now, and expect a big trade. Supposedly we're going to be in some kind of a big blockbuster trade. Money's been thrown around. $700+ million was just thrown around over in the Mets organization, taking a player from the Yankees. It's been great to see the Yankees fan burn jerseys and walk around the New York Mets Stadium.
You
and be like,
greedy bastard! We offered you $700 million, and you had to take $725. This is the same group of people that are fully behind the mob. But yeah,
But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Just a little touch up there. We also want to. Are you big into college basketball?
I'm getting bigger into it with Nico, and we do the March Madness Pick'em show. And hey, I took second a couple of years ago. So if it's Dayton, I am gonna be honest. It'll be way over my head, but I'll listen and I'll give my coaching insight. How about that?
It shouldn't be too over your head on this one because Dayton hosts number 6 Marquette comes into Dayton on Saturday for the primetime game at 7:00. So that's gonna be a big one because it's they're number 5, and Dayton got 2 top 25 wins when they were in the Maui, including the national champs from last year. So they could be going for their second top 10 win and third top 25 win in what's considered kind of a young season right now. So that's big news for us around here. If Dayton shows up at home, where they're almost unbeatable at home. They beat teams back in the Brian Roberts days. They back when they went on an NIT run. They beat teams like North Carolina. They beat the big ACC guys. They've been able to compete with the SEC. So this is going to be big for them. I'm excited. I'll touch more on Friday, but just having a top 10 opponent come in at home this early in the season, I'm really pumped. So it's definitely going to be one for the ages.
You're going to be able to catch them sleeping too. So I do actually have experience because I broadcasted more college basketball than I currently watch. But at our school, we were middle of the pack in our conference, and our conference was no basketball powerhouse whatsoever. So I've actually broadcasted a game where the other team had a guy go 10 for 11 from 3, and we were talking about that. Holy crap, he scored 30 points on 10 shots. That was insane. At this point, when you have a team that's ranked coming into your gym, and it is very early in the season, nobody really cares about picking up losses until you get closer to conference tournament time and everything like that. Dayton is not excluded in that conversation, but you get a top 10 team coming into your building at December. We had ours in November because our season kind of started right after football. But I've been a part of a couple of broadcasts where this unranked, no-name team out of some podunk conference went and took down a top 25 team in the country. Dayton, I know. It's funny. I smiled because when you're talking about Dayton and going into Dayton, you never win. I'm sitting here thinking about college football 25. I'm like, yep, I never win it. I never won when I went into Dayton. Doug kicked my ass every single time. But if you get that atmosphere, if you have the crazies, that is the biggest thing in college basketball. When you get your football team going to the games, you get your wrestling team going to the games, everybody's behind everybody else. They all know what the moment this is for the school because you don't get often opportunities of knocking off top 25 teams, especially at a school where you don't play Division I football. So this is a huge moment for the Dayton Flyers. If the stadium, the arena is not packed, if it is not the most difficult environment for this top 25 team to come in and play on game day, then they've done something wrong. This is your biggest chance to go out and just be an absolute fanatic on the floor. you are a part of this.
Yes.
It is not just the players on the floor, but the players, the people in the stands. You got to be loud. You got to make this uncomfortable, because when it's uncomfortable, when it's close at the end of the game, you are in a comfortable situation because it's your home gym.
Yes. I couldn't have said it more perfectly. You really nailed it on that. But I'll be excited. Definitely I'll be tweeting about that. Doug's a huge UD fan. He'll
Doug,
be in on it.
Dayton Doug follows me on a few social media platforms.
Dayton Doug. We don't talk about Dayton.
I'm just saying.
We don't talk about Dayton Doug or
he
flying.
Pops
Doug
up in my feed pretty regularly.
No, we wish the program. We're a little bit of the mothership when it comes to flying with Doug and Dayton Doug. It all started right here at OST. So I'm happy he's doing bigger things with that. But they'll be covering it. I'll be covering it, and we'll really be rocking it. But I guess my last thoughts. Go ahead. Do you have any save rounds before I kind of switch over news a little bit?
No, I think I'm good. That was the biggest thing. Is I think it's cool. It's a cool experience, cool moment. If you don't take advantage of it, it doesn't happen all that often when you're a smaller school. So take advantage of this moment. Be there in person if you have the opportunity, and watch this game, and then go celebrate if the impossible does happen. If the impossible happens, that is your time. That they're not greasing the polls. They're not expecting any massive celebration. Go be that celebration.
Exactly. And I'm going to finish off with some Cleveland Cavaliers news. They get a quality win against they're losing a little bit. We get a quality win against the Nuggets. That was a great win. We beat up on the Hornets. Evan Mobley has his coming out game of the season with 40+ points. And then we go against the Heat. Evan Mobley, 12 minutes into the game, he has an undisclosed ankle injury. They don't know if it's a high sprain, a low sprain. We don't know anything yet. They're not sharing it. We end up losing that game against the Heat. His injury kind of took the air out of the gymnasium. The players looked really unmotivated after that. I personally think after a 40+ point game, he should have had the night off, because this is the most minutes he's ever been. He's not used to this kind of play yet.
You got to ease him into it. That's for sure.
He's been a focal point of the offense under the new head coach, and sad to see. We're really kind of playing a nobody coming up. They play the Wizards on Friday. They play the Nets on Monday. Just look at the Wizards
franchises.
But outside of Gilbert Arenas and his guns, they haven't really been a franchise for a while.
Yeah.
If you remember that, I always pick on Darren. It makes Darren laugh. The bullets. Whiskey. He was Ron Artest with a gun. He wasn't just drinking, folks. He was waving his firearm around, making a statement. But
very similar to John Morant for the younger viewers, the younger NBA fans. He was very similar to John Morant. He wasn't at a strip club. He was just waving it around in the locker room.
All right, just this is my rifle. This is my gun.
I just got out the joint. I ain't going back.
Going back.
Bang bang. What's up?
You ever made love to a man? You
What?
want to?
No.
That joke didn't age well with some of the stuff coming about Will Smith these days. But we're up to 80 live viewers. Thank you to everybody tuning in. We're finishing up here on News and Notes around Ohio. But we're poking fun at Will Smith at his own expense. Jimmy knows that statement's true. That's going to be a meme. That's going to be a meme. But I'm going to move on. Do you have any save rounds before we get off tonight? We're a little bit over an hour. We've covered a lot. We got a lot more when we bring it back. But do you have any save rounds, thoughts?
I'm just excited. Like I said, wrestling season is one of my favorite times. I could not play basketball. We did a rec team that was like the far end of the bench, branded a couple years ago. There's a video out on our YouTube channel. If anyone wants to check it out, this will be my one plug for the show at FEOTB Pod. You can go back, and we have a ton of different stuff, and we post a lot of videos throughout the week. We'll be live tomorrow, and then next week we'll have our bracket pick'em show. But I know basketball is tough, but wrestling is just, when you get cut from the basketball team and you have nothing else to do in the winter, you should come to the wrestling room. if you can't make the basketball team, because wrestling is a no-cut sport, we literally need everybody of every size, shape, color, creed. We have girls wrestling now. That's my first shout out. Colorado has adopted the girls wrestling, is now kind of more of a statewide sport. The school that I'm working with, Castleview out here in Southern Colorado, added their girls team. They are undefeated. Actually, I think they lost one duel so far as a team, but they are absolutely killing it in their inaugural season. And wrestling, and you know this as well as anybody, if you want to be successful in life, you need to be mentally tough. You just need to be challenged. You do not need to be coddled. You do not need to be told you're perfect. You do not need to be told everything you do is great. Some days you get punched in the face. How do you respond? I took an elbow demonstrating a move today, coaching a wrestling practice. Did I sit there and cry and, oh my God, I have the I finished the demonstration and then I didn't even go get I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but like as a wrestler, you think about this stuff. As a military guy, you think about this stuff. I'm in the moment. It happened. Boo-hoo. Let's move forward. What is the goal? Let's get to the goal. And I think that the wrestling season, if Ohio State football is going to take anything, they should go to John Ryan right now. And, whatever sports psychologist you're working with, let's have him come in and talk to the team before the playoffs start, because we're going to be challenged. We're going to have to go to different places. We're going to have to be very mentally tough. And I just want to give a shout out to all the wrestlers that I've been working with and all the wrestlers that are getting their season underway, college wrestling season. Bo Nickel said it best. And if you're not listening to Bo Nickel about wrestling, then you're wrong. College American wrestling is the most exciting brand of wrestling in the world. So if you're interested, if you want to get a little bit more into the Olympics and at least know the guys that are coming up on the Olympics cycle every 4 years, college wrestling is at another level. And we're getting international guys. There's a guy in Iowa State that is a Cuban immigrant. Like, he has come from the communism of Cuba, that system, and he's getting a chance to wrestle in front of millions of people right now at Iowa State, of all places. So college wrestling, it's still the third, fourth, fifth. I don't know how far you want to put it down on the list. It's not the biggest college sport, but that tournament comes up. I fill out 10 brackets every year. Wrestling season is my favorite season of all because I get to work with guys and actually build a mentality. That's what I'm excited for.
No, I couldn't say it better myself. And I always encourage, especially linemen, linebackers.
If you get cut from the basketball team, do something in the offseason.
I encourage them to do wrestling. You learn so much great footwork. You learn how to square your body. You learn balance. You learn how to use your hands a lot better. Toughness. You learn how to use the mind, mental toughness. And those are all things you need in the trenches in the game of football. So it translates beautifully. I encourage all my young guys to alter right now. If you're not playing basketball, get in a wrestling gym. Even if you're not going to be, the greatest, you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to block better.
Think about
you're going to learn how to use your body. You're going to learn how to square up.
Adam Vinatieri is a high school wrestler. A position in football that we do not associate with toughness. He was one of the greatest of all time at it, and he credits himself for wrestling. We have that up in our wrestling room, and it's a shameless plug, but guys like that. There have been offensive linemen who never played a down of football until they make it to the pros after their Olympic cycle. They didn't make the Olympic team, but hey, we'll put a few pounds on you, and leverage, and balance, and mental toughness of how to get through a 17-game season better than anybody else. It is one of the best preparers for you in life, in whatever you're going to do.
My best offensive linemen last year were wrestlers, one rugby player who never played a down of football.
They're tough too. They're tough-ass people too.
Became one of my best linemen on a team. Extremely coached. They were all coachable. Key word there, because the individual sport that they played taught them how to be coachable, and that was where we molded them. Those two guys were the best. Ended up being the best two linemen on my team at the end of the year, and why we went on a 5-game winning streak at the end of the year, because those guys, once they gelled, once they figured out the game, once they were coachable, we were now winnable. And it all started in my trenches. My position, at that level, my skill positions were going to take care of themselves. Where we struggled, where we started the year 0-3, then finished the year with a 5-game winning streak. came down to the trenches, learning how to do it. And once I got my trenches going, man, I could call anything in the world. It didn't matter what it was. And
beautiful.
that was a beautiful. Oh, dude, it was poetry in motion. If you're still coming down around New Year's, I can't wait to talk to you about it in person. It's going to be great. We're going to enjoy that. But hey, this was a high. This was a good way to end the show. Extreme positivity, especially about wrestling. The other winter sport that kind of gets overlooked, like you said, because basketball and the money in basketball and college.
We're
basketball,
definitely not as pretty. I tell my kids,
Pretty.
use your face as a weapon. You'll get pretty later.
You'll get pretty later. Hey, it works.
Exhibit A.
I didn't wrestle for very long, but my dad was a lifelong wrestler. Wrestled over at Youngstown State many years ago.
Yep.
But this was a great way to end the show, Jimmy. Thank you for coming on again. You now hold the title, just like I do on your show, is the most guest host appearances out of anybody. You are now up to 4. Is up to my tally mark, and I can't wait to have you back on next week for number 5, and as many as we can get you on. So thank you for coming on.
Playoff bracket next week.
We'll talk about the playoff bracket next week. We'll get to talk about maybe some Bengals fallout. Again, hopefully for the better against Tennessee. We'll have a prediction show, and next week we might have another big time announcement. We might be getting maybe a redo if that gives anybody a hint on this show. That's a fan of the show.
Get better Wi-Fi.
Go to Starbucks. Get better Wi-Fi. It's gonna happen, folks. We're gonna get a redo. We'll make that announcement next week appropriately. Jimmy's gonna be a part of it. We're not going out that way on that big name. He's given us another chance. Right now he's enjoying Las Vegas and all the college football Hall of Fame stuff going on there. And we'll have more news on the exact time of round 1 of the playoffs. So that he'll be with us for a show. So I'll flex a show wherever it needs to be flexed, and we'll make it happen. But Jimmy, we're gonna go out in 2024 with a bang. It's gonna be great. We'll see you next week. Check out Jimmy on Far End of the Bench. Jimmy, you want to tell him where you're at? What time you're on?
Tomorrow night, it'll be about the same time that we started today because high school wrestling practice is over about 6, and I do need to shower because I can't sit in that filth. But Far End of the Bench at FEOTB Pod, our YouTube channel, subscribe, leave a comment. I've allowed negative comments. As long as you subscribe, you rate 5 stars, I'm good with you leaving a negative comment because it doesn't bother me. It's your hate. Your hate fuels my views. That's all I'm caring about right now. Steelers fans, get a nice look. Tell me how much you hate me in the comments of this video, and then go over to at FEOTB Pod and tell me how much you hate me because I don't care. I hate you just as much, yet you're some of my closest family members and friends. I don't know what it is, but somehow everybody in my life is a goddamn Steelers fan. But please check out at FEOTB Pod. We'll be live tomorrow, and then the videos will be coming out throughout the rest of the weekend. It's been fun coming on this show. I love being able to actually talk freely about the Bengals, and I don't have to worry about bringing the Broncos back into it at some point. But our show is very fun, and this show is very fun because similar to us, we have a good dynamic. We're very similar people. I've known Nico since I was 12. That's the best selling point on that show.
I've known you now for 2 years and running. I wouldn't trade it for the world. We met over on BSN on Talking to Gridiron.
That's also on Sunday, by the way. Talking to Gridiron Sunday. We will talk about all the games this weekend. If you have a negative showing, if you're a Titans fan and the Bengals kick your ass, come over to VSN and check out Talking to Gridiron on Sunday.
Maybe Jordan Maxson will get his ass up and make it happen next week. I missed the last few due to just pure dumbness, but Jimmy, we got up to 85 live viewers. It was our highest mark of the evening. That's something to be very proud of. Again, not much in the comments section. Like you said, don't be afraid to mix it up with us, folks. We love answering. Find far into the bench. Find me on OST. I'm always intermingling with fans for the better or not. I'm not going to block you for negative views either, as long as we keep it respectful and 100. I'll respect your views, you respect mine. But, it's always fuck the Steelers. But on that note, I'm Jordan Maxson with the OST. This is Jimmy Pilato with Far Into the Bench. It's been a great evening with you folks. And y'all have if we don't see you between now and then, but we will. Merry Christmas is coming up. Keep your families close. Keep your loved ones closer. And this has been our show. Out.